All right, I have two little stories here. The first one is called Young and Restless, Chickens and the Crosshairs. Thinking of my Camaro Berlinetta, I remember another story. This time I was traveling from Odessa and headed to visit my parents in Marble Falls. This was back in the day when they still lived in their trailer. Well, I was headed on the back roads to get to Marble Falls, just traveling on a 2-lane country road. Now, back then, still my indestructible young self, I liked to cruise down the highway going 100 miles an hour. Why I never got caught speeding, I'll never know. I didn't even have a radar detector. Anyway, I'm cruising at 100 miles an hour and I'm coming up on a small hill. When I reach the top of this hill, I see in front of me a bunch of chickens sitting right in the middle of the road. And I'm sure my brain thought, chickens. By the time I reached those chickens, I'd slowed down to 80 miles an hour. Now, sure enough, I hit them. I don't know how many, but feathers were flying. And I thought about what my front grill is going to look like. I had no idea how many chickens there were because I kept on going. Did I learn any lessons from this? I'm not sure, since my memory isn't that clear on this. I'm thinking, what if it was a deer or a cow in the middle of the road? I would have been in big trouble if that was the case. You know, when you're young, cruising 100, you don't think of what if there's a deer in the road. You know, you go into Marble Falls, there's deer, there are deer everywhere. So it would have been a terrible thing. My next story is called The Great Car Heist, Shelley's Bold Move. Now, one day, this is in Odessa, I was working in the Emerson telephone office, which is right next to Permian High School. At the end of the day, I went to get my car in the parking lot, and my car's gone. Just totally gone. Not there. Someone stole my car. Now, at the time, I was still dating my future wife, Shelley. Now, as I know now, but I didn't know then, Shelley tended to do things like this. She would do things that would surprise me. Now, she surprised me many times over the years. But in the early years of being with Shelley, these surprises were plentiful. Now, I think that Shelley did show up shortly afterward after I discovered that my car was gone. And she did inform me that she was responsible for the missing car. I think she intended to have it back by the time I got off work, but she failed at that aspect of the surprise. She had planned to have my car reupholstered, for her child had peed in the seats in the back seat. So she stole my car to have new seat covers installed and intended to have it back before I got off work. So that's just one of many surprises that Shelley had for me. And while we're speaking of surprises, I'm just gonna throw another surprise that Shelley provided for me during those years. This story is called Swaying Skirts and Cowboy Tycoons, a Workday Surprise. This occurred while I was working in Midland, Texas for Claydesta Communications. And I worked in an office just above the 14th floor of the building there. To get to that office, you had to go up a flight of stairs after you got off the 14th floor. And I was working there one day when someone knocked on our door. And we opened the door and a belly dancer had arrived at our office. And she was there to dance for me. It was my birthday, and my wife decided to surprise me with a belly dancer. Well, a belly dancer comes clothed with a fitted bra and a matching belt and skirt, and she brought her own music to play, and she performed 2 different songs as she danced. So this was a surprise for me for sure. As I said earlier, Shelley, especially in the early years, seemed to excel in the surprise category. Now, shortly after the belly dancer left, not very long, real shortly, the owner of Claydesta Communications shows up at our door unannounced. His name was Clayton Williams. He was a colorful businessman. He went around with a cowboy image. He even ran for governor of Texas in 1990. He was rich and he had sold his energy company for $2.7 billion. Clayton Williams just barely missed that belly dancer. If he'd just been a little bit earlier, I'm sure this story would have been a great one for Clayton to tell others. You could say it would have been even a greater surprise for me and a big surprise for Mr. Clayton. Shelley didn't realize when she set this up how close she came to surprise more than that she had intended. Wouldn't that have been a great story? If the owner of the company walks in right in the middle of a belly dance, that would have been a winner for sure. And that's the end of this story.